Welcome to The Explainer. Look, today we're going to crack the code on what is, for a lot of people, one of the toughest, most high-stakes parts of A-level politics, that big 24-mark ideology essay.
So, let me ask you something. Does the thought of writing a full comparative essay, on something like anarchism or feminism, in under 45 minutes, does that just fill you with dread? If it does, you're definitely in the right place, because we're going to demystify it completely.
And here's the best part. Scoring those top marks isn't some kind of dark art or magical writing ability. It's not. It's about mastering a formula, a clear, repeatable strategy that you can apply every single time you sit down to write.
Okay, so first things first, let's get a handle on the challenge itself. We're talking about Section B of Paper 2, the Non-Core Political Ideas essay. This is the big one, right? It's where you have to evaluate the tensions and the arguments within a single ideology.
How you get marks? Well, it all comes down to these three things. The assessment objectives, or AOs. And just look at that breakdown. It's perfectly balanced. 8 marks for what you know, 8 marks for how you connect the dots and analyze, and 8 marks for how well you argue your case. You can't just be good at one. To get that top grade, you've got to nail all 3.
Yeah, so let's think of these AOs as 3 keys on a keychain. Each one unlocks a different part of that top-level answer. So let's take a look at what each key actually does, one by one.
All right, key number 1, AO1. This is your foundation, your bedrock. And we're not just talking about dropping a few facts here and there. This is about using precise, high-level language, words like intersectionality or civic nationalism. And this is absolutely crucial, weaving the specific ideas of your key thinkers right into the argument itself. Okay, so once you have that knowledge, AO2 is where you start putting it to work. This is where you actually do the comparison. You take the different strands of an ideology, like liberal feminism versus radical feminism, or individualist versus collectivist anarchism, and you don't just describe them side by side. No, you explain the logical links between their ideas. Why do they agree or disagree?
And if you really want to level up your analysis, it's all about using the right language. Phrases like these are gold. When you say, because of this, it logically follows that, or this view directly diverges from, you're signaling to the examiner, hey, I'm not just listing stuff, I'm building a chain of reasoning. And that right there is the core of powerful analysis.
And that brings us to the final key, AO3, evaluation. This is your moment to be the judge. You've laid out the evidence, you've shown the connections, now you deliver the verdict. You directly answer that to what extent part of the question. Is the disagreement massive and fundamental, or is it more like a minor family squabble?
And again, the language you use here is a massive signal. Instead of just saying they disagree, you could say there's a fundamental ontological divide. Wow. Or you might conclude that the degree of cohesion is limited. See? These phrases show you're making smart, sophisticated judgments all the way through your essay.
Okay, so let's talk about your toolkit. To actually use those 3 keys and build your argument, there are a few items you absolutely must have. Think of these as the non-negotiables for every single essay you write.
Okay, 3 core principles. Number 1, thinkers. They are your primary evidence. I mean it. Without them, your mark is capped. You literally can't get into the top bands. Number 2, a balanced debate. You have to look at both sides of the coin. Where do they agree and where do they disagree? And third, thematic depth. Don't just ramble. Focus your paragraphs on the big themes, human nature, the state, society, the economy. That's what gives your essay a solid structure.
And listen to this, because this is the real secret sauce. And it comes straight from the examiners themselves. Top-level candidates don't just list what one thinker says and then what another thinker says. No, they make them clash. They put them in a debate with each other. You need to show the examiner you get the exact point of tension between them. That is what they're looking for.
Right. So we've got the assessment objectives. We've got the toolkit. Now, how do we put it all together? Let's walk through the winning structure, your step-by-step game plan from the second that exam clock starts ticking.
Honestly, your success in this essay is often decided in the first 2.5 minutes. Seriously, take 30 seconds, just 30 seconds, to really break down the question. What's the theme? What's my stance going to be? Then take a full 2 minutes to plan. Jot down your themes, match them with your thinkers. It might feel like you're losing time, but I promise, this little bit of planning is what stops you from rambling and going off track later.
Now, for the main body of your essay, there is one formula that is your best friend, PEEL.
It is so simple, but it's brilliant because it forces you to hit all those assessment objectives in every single paragraph. You make your point. You back it with evidence from your thinkers. You explain why they agree or disagree. That's your analysis. And then you link it all back to the question with a mini evaluation. Every single time.
And here's what that looks like in the real world. Check this out. The point, clear and simple. They disagree on the economy. The evidence, you bring in Kropotkin and Stirner to clash. The explanation, you dig deeper. It's because they have fundamentally different views on human nature. And the link, you make a judgment call. Therefore, the disagreement is fundamental. See, it's a perfect, self-contained argument. Every paragraph should be this tight.
All right, we're almost there. Let's finish up with a quick look at the pro moves versus the common traps. These are the little things that really separate a good essay from an absolutely killer one.
So what are examiners really looking for? 3 things. First, integrated comparison. They want to see a constant back and forth, a real debate, not just 2 separate descriptions. Second, thinker accuracy. It sounds obvious, but you have to link the right idea to the right thinker. And third, sustained evaluation. Your judgment needs to be a thread that runs from the very first sentence all the way to your conclusion, not something you just slap on at the end.
Think of this as your final pre-flight checklist. On the left, the winning moves. Are you using comparative words like conversely or however? Awesome. Are you bringing in your thinkers? Perfect. Is your judgment clear? You're on your way. Now look at the right, the common traps. Are you generalizing and saying all feminists believe? Nope, stop that. Have you forgotten to mention any thinkers? That's a huge red flag. Just stick to the green column, avoid the red, and you are good to go.
So there you have it. This whole 24-mark essay thing, it's not a mystery, it's not about being a genius writer, it's a formula. You have the toolkit, you have the structure, you have the game plan. It's a repeatable process for success. So the only real question left is, which ideological tension are you going to go and explain first?